I'm going to be mounting a staghorn fern. We're going to use just a plain plywood board and a small staghorn fern, and I'm going to use a cutting that I have off of a very large staghorn fern. As you can see, so this was one that we actually peeled off of a larger granddaddy staghorn fern. And so first you want to get a piece of board that you can, it can be driftwood, it could be any board that you have enough space to mount, that you have enough to secure it. You can secure it with either chicken wire, or you can use regular, probably 22 to 28 gauge wire, depending on how big your staghorn fern is and whether or not it has any root mass. Like this one here, our large one does not, and they don't need root mass necessarily. But then the ones that you find in the stores normally will be potted, are young plants that are potted with potting soil. And so they would start out like that. So what I've done is taken a piece of plywood and I've secured some chicken wire, and this will go over my base part of my plant. And so you want to have a little bit of give. You don't want this real tight up there. It's almost like a pillow pocket. So I've secured it on that side. I've given myself a little bit of room, and I'm going to secure this side a little more. I'm just using a staple gun. Now that I have my pocket, I'm going to need to cut an area out where the center of this will go. But after I get it stuffed, I'm even going to go back and re-staple some of those areas. So I like to make one start kind of just off center where you're going to put your staghorn. So I'm making kind of like a little pocket opening for my staghorn. And I'm going to be using both the staghorns, one older and one smaller, just to have two. So now this will be where I'm going to stick the staghorn. So you just kind of want to get an eyeball, and it is going to fit down in like so. So then I'm going to stuff my corners with moss. If you have a smaller staghorn fern, you could use just a smaller bale of moss, or if you have a big one, you can use a big bale of moss. You can use any type of wood, and you can use pretty much any shape and size as long as you have something to secure it to. So I have people who use grape burls. Driftwood works really well, and pretty much you could cut any shape. I've seen people use the old tops to wine barrels. Those are beautiful. There's a whole bunch of different styles you could go for. So I'm just going to stuff this really, really full, really tight. One of the tricks when we get closer to the base of the plant is behind the plant for food, you give them banana peels. And this decomposes and gives them high amounts of potassium and phosphorus. And that's in the jungle where they grow naturally. The banana peels and bananas fall down onto them, and that's their nourishment and what they like. And so I've found that using that old trick works really, really well, and you get beautiful staghorn ferns. And usually they kind of like to be on the drier side, and so you don't get they shouldn't be so wet that the bananas are causing flies, and you don't actually want banana in it, you just want the peel part. That's a beautiful piece. I'm going to save that for my end. Now I've gone ahead and I've stuck my staghorn in, and I've kind of just made it so that it's pushed down into that moss. And I'm using dry moss, and I'm not getting it wet first. When I do get it wet, just because it's easier to work with, and when I do get it wet, it'll kind of poof up a little bit and make it even tighter. And so it'll give me a really snug, nice fit. I've gone ahead and kind of cut the wire so it's behind the green layer of staghorn fern base. It's okay to staple through the brown part of the plant, but you don't want to staple through the green part. So I'm using that as kind of my holder. That'll help hide the ends of the wire. It'll still allow you to see the front of the plant and allow the staghorn to grow more babies off over the front. So you'll get a real pretty look, so it won't be all trapped behind. Sometimes if you just go over the back, you end up with the little babies and they can't get out and get in front of that chicken wire. So now I'm just tucking more of the wire behind, and I'm actually going to staple this down, and I'm leaving a pocket here where I'm going to stick this staghorn fern. But this will help nicely secure this part. So I'm going to go ahead and staple, and I'm just stapling through the brown part of the plant. My organic banana. Okay. So right now I'm just tucking in the banana behind the green part of the plant there. And then I'm going to go ahead and secure, I tucked a banana behind the little one here. And the little plants that come off of a big staghorn are known as pups. And you can get them in 6-inch containers usually in the nurseries. And then I can use this as I'm now just wrapping kind of around the front and to help hide some of the moss. And I'm just going to kind of tuck it in. It'll hide the brown parts and hide a little bit of the excess chicken wire. When I get this wet, the chicken wire will fluff up a little bit and you won't be able to see it. You'll still see a little bit, but not as much. And I did go ahead before I even started mounting this. I put a hanger on the back, and I kind of had an idea of where I'm going to put it, and so then I made it level to that area. And so you could go ahead and adjust a hanger anywhere on your backing before you start. It's much easier. And I just like to stuff pieces in kind of in the back and areas where you might have the little prongs that can get you. So it kind of makes it a little bit safer. This should go another 10-12 years on this board before we have to take it off again and readjust it. So if you have pieces of your staghorn fern that don't look good because they've either been sunburnt or got frozen in the frost. This one got a little bit of sunburn, a little bit of freeze, and actually had a case of scale. So we had actually sprayed it with Volk oil, which is an excellent oil spray for these, and will clear up scale and mealybug. If you need to cut them off, you want to go down to the base of the plant and then just cut them. And I'm going to take off, think about those 3, and then these will push out new babies and come right back. There is a certain amount of pores and spores that are on the back of your plant, and these are natural. These are natural pores, and when you see them really silvery and shiny, usually that means that the plant wants water and that they're open and ready to accept water. When they're watered, then they'll close up, and it'll have a little darker green color to it. And I think that's all. And then I'm actually going to take off that frond and this frond. I think. And that's about all there is to mounting a staghorn fern. And if you want to feed your staghorn fern, you could use Dr. Earth's liquid fertilizer or use VF11 once a month. And you would go ahead and use it as a foliar spray, and that will make your staghorn fern absolutely gorgeous. So Kurt wrote in for our email question. He wants to know how to keep Boston ferns looking really nice. After about 3 months, he tends to have a leggy, horrible looking Boston fern, and then he throws them out. And then he goes and gets another one because he loves how lush and beautiful the Boston ferns are and how tropical feeling they add. So one of the tricks that my mom taught me was to keep just a small jar or even a container of water that you toss your empty tea bags in the morning. You want to use black tea. If you don't drink tea, then you would keep like a gallon container and just put 2 tea bags in it and let that steep over time. You're going to water pretty much every morning or every other morning, and that's just about a cup, so it's small amounts often. You might even use 2 cups. To check your Boston fern to see if it needs water, you want to check your saucer, and if there's water in the saucer, it won't need any more. If the saucer's dry, then that's when you would go ahead and water. You would also want to put in VF11, and for a gallon, you would use a capful. It's just about a tablespoon for the gallon of water. And that is how to keep them beautiful. For the lighting, they like good light. Your east windows are best. Second best, you would put them in a west exposure, west window. And then you can do a north window and the south window. A lot of people like them on their south side. Usually that's a little too hot or too much sun. So if it's going to be on a south side, it needs to be set back enough so that it's not in the direct sun coming through the window. If there's not enough light in the room, your plant will tend to grow towards the light, and so then you would want to turn them to keep them symmetrical. If you have your fern hanging, they make some great hanging basket liners. So you could either set this inside, or if it won't fit or you need it to go, these will actually clip onto where the hangers are, and then you can just hang it so you're not worried about dripping water every day. You would just barely want like a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch of water in there. You don't want it sitting in water. This is Echium fastuosum, also known as Pride of Madera, and this grows all over San Luis Obispo County, Santa Barbara County, and Monterey County. It's an excellent drought-tolerant plant, deer-proof, and can take a lot of water, but it's very short-lived that way. If it doesn't get a lot of water and gets winter rains, these can go 10 to 15 years. And an excellent plant for good coverage and drought-tolerant hillsides or just open areas. We've come to Halter Ranch Vineyard, where we are going to check on the largest oak in the world, located right here in Paso Robles. We're going to go find Mitch Weiss, the wine grower, and he's going to give us a tour of the ancestor oak. Hi, Mitch.
Hey, good afternoon, Hope. How are you?
Great. So we've come up to see the Ancestor oak.
The famous ancestor oak.
Yeah.
Beautiful oak tree for sure.
Yeah, and I've heard that we will take a vehicle to get there.
Absolutely, absolutely.
That it's not a tree that everybody can see.
No, it's right in the middle of the vineyard, and it's officially, according to the American Forestry Association, it is tied for the largest coast live oak, quercus agrifolia, in the world.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And if there's a soul to this ranch, it's probably found underneath that tree.
Wow. Absolutely incredible.
It is a beautiful tree.
So I guess we'll go get in a vehicle and head on up there.
Let's go see it. Good?
Ready.
Got it.
Out here in between the grapes, you grow the barley.
Yes, we do. This is a cover crop that adds organic matter back into the soils, and we pull it out with our grapes, and this is part of our program to bring it back into the soil to add some more organic matter.
Wow.
Yeah.
And as I can see, this is an absolutely huge oak tree that we're coming upon the ancestor.
Absolutely.
Getting very excited.
Oh yeah.
The measurements, well, tell me a little story about how you guys figured out that it was the largest oak and
well, you know,
discovered it.
I had visited the largest redwood tree, and I knew that there was a list that had the largest trees because formerly where I lived in Chico, we had the largest valley oak in town. So I knew there was a list, so I went on the internet and I started researching the internet, and I found there's a site that's run by the American Forestry Association, and they list actually the largest trees and the largest shrubs throughout California. And so I called them, I emailed them, and they came out and measured the tree.
Wow.
So, and they said, you got yourself a national champion.
And I guess we'll go walk under the tree and you'll show me how they measure?
The measurements speak for themselves.
Yeah. Oh. Incredible.
Yeah. Yeah.
It really does deserve a wow, but it's absolutely incredible.
Home to thousands. And truly a microclimate in here. I mean, when it's 110 in the vineyard, you can come here and it will be 30 or 40 degrees cooler. Wow. With this ocean breeze that's coming through and wonderful shade.
Oh my goodness.
It has nice symmetry too.
Right.
The other one that it's tied with is really tall, but it's not symmetrical like this.
Right.
And I did hear on the other tree, I've been meaning to go down to Julian, I heard that the crown broke off of it.
Oh.
So, and find the tree and see if that's true.
Right.
So
wow.
we're bringing, Paso Robles means pass with the oaks.
Oh.
We're bringing the Robles back.
Oh.
We're bringing the oak tree back. So.
Oh, how exciting.
It's a beautiful tree.
Yeah. My goodness. Let's take a...
Makes you want to climb it, doesn't it?
Yeah. So when they do the measurements of this tree, they measure at like 4.5
I think they call it,
or...
breast height. They go around the trunk and they give it a number.
Wow.
They take the distance from the furthest branches and then also the shortest branches and give it another number So that's 2 numbers now. And then they do the height and give it a 3rd number in between, and they add them all up. And ours came to 415 points. And they gave us a designation right there.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's it. A co-national champion.
My goodness.
Wonderful spot here.
Yeah, absolutely incredible.
Home to thousands.
My goodness.
Oaks are 300 to several hundred years old. 300 years old is probably
Okay.
a minimum amount for this thing.
Wow.
And probably upwards to several hundred years old.
Okay. Absolutely amazing.
Right in the middle of the vineyard.
Incredible.
It is. Actually,
All from an acorn.
all from an acorn. Can you imagine this to that? You'd have to give it at least a few hundred years.
Yeah. Oh my.
When I
And
came
those
here,
limbs are huge.
they really are. When I came here, this had all the rocks that we farm with stacked underneath this whole tree, because the family that farmed here, what do you do with a rock? Well, they couldn't. This tree was too big to actually knock over.
Right.
And so they just took the rocks and threw them right here at the base. And when I came here, the rocks were several feet high and going back probably 20 feet in all directions. So I just kind of came in here with a backhoe and just started moving away the rocks, because I knew I had a big tree here, and just stood back and went, I got a big tree.
Yeah.
So, and Forestry Association came out and measured it.
Oh, that's neat.
And it's a very peaceful spot.
Amazing to think of what was going on 300 years ago when
Yeah.
this tree.
Yeah.
What did this area look like? And then you have all the storms, all the earthquakes, all the different things that would go on in its lifetime.
Yeah, what it has seen.
What it has seen
Yeah.
is absolutely amazing.
From natives, I've shown this to people and they've started crying.
Yeah,
They've
I
only
could
seen
feel
trees
that.
this big in Disneyland.
Yeah.
You know, they've never seen.
Well, and her
something.
tree has arms that are protecting.
That's
Yeah,
right.
very, very protecting.
We're in the womb.
I don't know if our camera person can get that, but the limbs come out and it's almost like a mother's arms protecting the way that they're laying down, and all the limbs are touching the ground. And just an incredible canopy inside. And what an incredible, neat tree. And the energy here is amazing.
Yes, it is. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a peaceful spot,
Very.
in surrounded by, you know, what is a lot of hard work with
Right.
the agriculture of farming
Yeah.
wine grapes.
And your views are incredible.
Yes. This oak tree has great views.
I was going to say, picked a good spot to start.
Well, I think it's named appropriately, the ancestor.
The ancestor. Yeah, and it's. I mean, you even wonder, what did its parents look like?
Yes.
You know, as
right.
far as
what this.
and where were they? Because they would have been in either close proximity, or a bird dropped it, or I mean, so many incredible.
Well, the chances are there. You know, the relatives to this tree were around this tree, but with the advent of agriculture in the bulldozer, they knocked it all those
down.
other ones down. I mean, there were oak trees all over here.
Wow.
This is the one they never knocked down.
Oh, interesting.
This may be been the one that was too big to knock down.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, absolutely.
but it's named in honor of everybody that's come here before us, including you today.
Yeah. And it's beautifully healthy. I mean, especially for this time of year, to be this covered
Right.
is an incredibly healthy tree. And not a lot of the oaks that you do see now have a lot of dying branches. This one doesn't
No.
have any.
We have thousands of oak trees on this ranch. If you look over on the hillsides, thousands and thousands of them. When there's windstorms, we always have work to do if they fall on our fences or inside the vineyard. But after the windstorms, there's a kind of a gentle knowledge that this tree didn't lose anything. It really is. I mean,
Yeah.
it really, because it's got so much symmetry to it.
Right. It almost protects itself.
Yeah. I mean, the wind comes and blows right over the top of it is what I
Right.
imagine.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
She's made her own canopy.
yeah. It's a beautiful tree.
Yeah. So Halter Ranch was named best winemaker of the year.
Bill Sheffer was winemaker of the year for the Central Coast, yes.
Wow. And then the tree, the ancestor.
I've named it the best tree of the century.
I love it.
Okay.
I love it. So now there's 3 champions at Halter Ranch.
Maybe so.
So thank you, Mitch.
You bet.
This has been absolutely, I feel blessed
It's fun.
to be able to come out and see this.
Thanks for coming out.
Yeah, awesome. And because of the information that I heard about this and because of the information that you passed on to us, I looked on the registry and the aloe bainzai tree that's at the nursery is actually larger than the one in. So we sent in a nomination and hopefully it'll be on record as the largest one in California.
Yeah, generally what happens is there'll be some professors that come out from Cal Poly that will measure the species for you,
Yeah.
the individual.
It's
So
really
we
exciting.
got 2 now
Yeah.
for the county. That's 2 for this county.
Go find some other giant trees.
That's it. It is a worthy endeavor.
Yeah. Oh. About a 45 minutes drive to Los Osos, back to where the elfin forest is. And these are some of the smallest oak trees in the world. And I'll show you in a little bit how to plant an oak tree and how to take care of it so that you can grow either the largest or the smallest. So what makes a pygmy oak? Because it is a quercus agrifolia, which is the same variety as the largest oak tree in the world. And the difference between the two is soil and climate. Here we don't have nutrients in our soil. The grains are so small it locks out oxygen, so the trees never get to be as full as they would as if they're up in the really mineral rich soil that's up in Paso, and they get the heat and the sun, and that's what makes them the largest to the smallest. Most of these pygmy oak trees are under 18 feet tall. They are between 12 and 15 feet. They'll have a really large canopy, but none of the trunks get the size that you saw up in Paso. And they do have almost a bush effect, the way that they're grown. We can show you from the top of the hill because it's hard to get an idea of actually how big this is. But we'll take you up on the top and look down and you can see how they're they look like bushes. I think that's just absolutely perfect. Mother Nature has fixed it so that the views wouldn't be blocked. So this is overlooking the canopy of the elfin forest. We're at the highest point on the trail, which is 125 feet above sea level. And as you can see, the trees are really not that tall. And it's absolutely, if you haven't been out here, it's absolutely gorgeous. And tonight, it's about 5 o'clock, and the sun is getting ready to set, and it's amazing.
Hope for your garden, fruits and veggies are matched.